I just want to announce that today is March 1st, and the Neuland ambassadors and tool masters are getting together to talk about their undercover research and what they're finding. We have a great Padlet, and we're waiting for more people to get here, but Franziska keeps saying brilliant things, so I had to start the recording for those of you that are watching the recording. All right.
I even found out that over the markers, the time when I'm using them, I have the best effect, like in the beginning, it's opaque.
Mm-hmm.
And when I use it for a while, the particles separate underneath and then it gets darker.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So I have to, in between using the marker, it's always seems to be important that I can just lay it flat and then on the nib again. So maybe switch really the positions over time.
Yeah.
If you use on black paper, on white paper, I have no problems at all. It's almost always the same color
Right.
or
This is
coverage.
really interesting. And you're working horizontally at this point, right? You're writing
Right
horizontally.
now, working
Yeah.
horizontally, markers are standing
Uh-huh.
with the nib face down.
Yeah.
Whenever I'm walking around with them, of course, then they're laying because otherwise the nib gets like cakey.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
they, as you said, if they're horizontally for too long, you have a separation of the faces because
Yes.
they don't mix perfectly.
Yep. I'm experiencing that too. Yes. Yes. And that's why in the white cover ink, it has those little beads in there to help us shake it. And so what I've been doing is because I've been going through so much white cover ink, um, as soon as I get done with one bottle, I just use that bottle to mix new color in so that those little beads are there. Or if people didn't know this, you can take, there's an inner
Yeah.
piece of plastic that you can take out and dump those little beads out if you need them to go into another one to shake. Because yeah,
I
it does separate. Yeah.
still have lab utensils and the bulb from the Neuland refills, it kind of fills in there. I don't get too messy.
Yeah.
But it gets far enough down there so that I can make partial mixes. I didn't want
Yeah.
to use the big bottles because I thought there has to be a gradient. I have to get some kind of a gradient. It has to work.
Okay, so what you, Elena, and Martine have just stepped into is Franziska was talking about some of her discoveries, and I knew from the first time she and I played with these together, she's the most experimental out of any of us that I've seen. She's doing things that yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway.
she is a true artist. Francisca is a true artist. Definitely an
Cute.
artist soul. Absolutely. Absolutely. Sorry, I didn't connect because I was fighting with my background. I just arrived to Bilbao. I'm just all
Oh, yay, Bilbao. Yeah, well, you're on time. You're fine. It's just Francisca was early and I let her in and then we started chatting and wow, lots and lots of discoveries. I'm sure people will be coming in as we go. I'm gonna, just in case you didn't already see it, I think that the chat is ongoing, but I wanted to just add the Padlet and I love it. Elena just posted something
I,
just a
I,
minute
I just
ago.
I just posted a minute ago to be like a homework down just the last minute. One of those kids.
What? That's fine. This is so ongoing. This is all happening at once. I've loved seeing what everybody's exploring and testing, and you're all so brave. And I love, Francesco, what you put in. I love that you decorated the box. That was so great. The ink box, so fun. Um, yeah. So I think in
Oh,
what's that? Oh, yay!
Pipola.
Hello,
Yay,
hola.
Sketchy, welcome. Oh my gosh, you have COVID hair. You grew out your
Well,
hair.
I even just cut them. So yeah,
You used
it's
to
been
be
a
so
while.
clean
It's been a while.
shaven. I love it. Sketchy you used to sport the coolest fade, and now you have long hair. I love it.
It was always hidden under a hat.
Oh,
Anyways,
gotcha. Gotcha. Well, so today what I would love to do is, of course, find out if everybody's been experimenting, find out what your discoveries are, because we're finding all kinds of interesting, wonderful, odd things. And then really I'd love to end up, if we have time, if not, we can have another session, is how do we want to share this out as a group? Is there a way that we could have one big event where we all take turns showing some tricks, and really about consistency? And we may not be finding a lot of consistency in our early research, but as we continue using these tools, how can we create consistent applications so that other people don't have to go through all the experimentation we have? We can kind of lead the way and show them, do this in this instance. But we may not get to that today, because I have a feeling that people have been experimenting and finding some discoveries. So anything else you want to add to that besides sharing what our discoveries, and then maybe talking about how we might share this out as a bigger group?
I think that sounds great, Heather. That's getting together to share with the world our approaches and our experiments. Well, myself, as we talked in the first session, for those who were here, and Franciscan people weren't here, but we can also share. In my case, I'm a lot about layering, and I didn't come up with a word, but you did, Heather. And to me, it's so rewarding, because every time a different thing happens. And I just uploaded I didn't have that much time about experimenting, but I used the black notebook, and I went to an event, and it was at a cocktail bar at night with jazz playing and also flamenco playing. So I took the black notebook, and I used it like for going with the music and with the cadence, and I was layering with the music, and I really think it helped me get the atmosphere of the event. That's the video that I uploaded. Actually, I felt like also like a DJ, because I didn't, it's not my on my achievements, but it really happened that the mixing of the music, it really matched with the movement. So I was super happy, but I'm more comfortable with layering more than mixing. Let's say that would be my
You're
point.
more comfortable with layering than mixing?
Yes,
That's great.
myself, because also when that, it's like, I don't know, it's like when I prepare like shapes, big shapes of white, and then drawing it, as I show you the sheep the cattle last session, and then I like drawing with the fine liner on top and then using colors. Yeah, it's that one, and it has music. Yeah,
I'm gonna see if I can turn off the music but show it.
the
So
music, well, it's worth it to put the music on.
I know,
If
but
it's possible.
I know we can watch this on our own, but what I wanted to say when you said that you prefer layering over mixing, is that some of us are going to love one or the other, and both are fine. But right here, I want to see if I can pause it. I don't know if I can. Yeah. Okay. Right here, you are layering this pink over the
Exactly.
white, or white over pink?
Yeah. No, it's pink first, and then this one, the berry. The
Okay.
berry color is 705, and
Okay.
then also the 801, that's the ochre that I use a lot. It really
Gotcha.
shines, and also even the outliner
Yes, the
shines
outliner lays nicely on white. Yeah.
shines on top of the white. And I don't know if maybe I share. Please excuse me if I repeat myself, but I think about, the artist Miro. Well, and
Yes,
we
Miro.
have also the tool, but now it's the artist, and he I don't know if you're familiar with the style, but many artists, of course, but using white on top of colors, and then you on top of those, the color on top shines, and it's really, and it doesn't depend to the background color. It kind of allows the colors for me to shine, because the white prepares like a space for the colors to shine. That's my approach, let's say that.
Love it. Who has questions for Elena about her process?
More than the process, it's about how do you come up with the idea to go into this session, listening to jazz and bringing your markers?
Well, I was invited to the session, and I took like a sketch. I did a regular sketch noting, and when for of the session. But I had like I arrived early to be comfortable, so I had that feeling that the black, because at the end those are tools that go beyond the like the regular white papers and regular colors when we go right, and then. But so I've had the feeling that for that space, that it's not like a regular workshop or conference, then that the black background on the booklet and the white would help me to experiment there, and it happened. So I had the feeling that it made sense. So I felt a connection that in that environment, the black paper would really fit. That was my feeling. I was very happy. Actually, I want to go to many concerts where I connect with that background with the music.
And
See,
it sounds like you kind of have your process down, thinking about layers. And so that's a
Yes.
different way to be thinking. And so I think for some kind of a share out, if you could show something basic, but then show something really more complicated, like this to me looks sort of in the middle in terms of basic. Like this is like just not black on white or one color on white, but you've got a couple of different layers happening with some shadows and then also outlines going outside of the content. But I think if you were to show this and then talk about your process, I don't know, as soon as you started talking, I thought about when I'm working on an iPad, I have to think in layers.
Yeah.
And so same thing. And because once it's down, it's down. I mean, you can go back and play a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah, and also I think to me, what and answering to Francesco's question, it's about the atmosphere, also trying to capture, because you're seeing that and that drawing that the ochre color, like that, it looks like gold there, and it's in a regular line, in regular lights, it doesn't shine that much, but there it's like it really like glows. It's also to me it was like going into capturing the atmosphere, not also like portraying or depicting the scene or the content, but also the atmosphere. That was my driver to answer the former question.
Thank you. And I asked that, remembering that I haven't done it in 20 years, but I used to love to go to small cafes where they played jazz music with a book and read whatever was the thing I was reading with whatever they wanted to play. And I love the, mixing two arts, if you want, in one.
Absolutely.
But I never thought about doing anything like this.
Yeah, to me, and even if I belong to the visual world and I'm not good at music, but I know I adore music. I think music is the biggest energy mover. It's like so deep. So it's just like mixing that to me was like a privilege. I felt okay. I see the space. I see the bridge.
Love it. Love it. Who else has something to share? Either something we can put in the Padlet or something you want to hold up or share your screen about your discoveries.
I have literally just tried something, as in during the call. I had some scrap material. I destroyed, disassembled some binders, and I was curious. So I kept, the black and transparent paper. I said, does the cover works on transparent paper?
Ooh, it didn't beat up.
Yep.
Wow. Has anybody tried this on the clear aesthetics? The big clear
I
transparency
don't have
paper?
one.
Okay,
So
that's something to try. I'm going to make another post. Okay, great.
And so I'm going to put it close to the camera. It's
Let
not,
me spotlight you.
it's not perfect, if you see.
Mm,
And so I was drawing this thing here, some shape, and I said, I don't know what it is, but it reminded me something we discussed 2 weeks ago, like the white ink that you use on the windows to in fishmongers
Right.
places, and I love that. And so it's not neat, it's not a neat line,
Mhm.
but it's dry. You can scratch it and dries quite quickly. You can do something. And then I added some metallics that I had there.
Yeah. And those are the other colors, the red and the blue. Those are the mixed colors with the cover, right?
No, sorry, no,
Oh,
because
metallics, metallics.
those metallics. I
Ah,
never
gotcha.
tried. I have them in. I haven't tried
Yeah.
them yet.
But the metallic worked on the transparency as well.
It did.
Excellent. Wow, that's great. Any questions for Francesco? Way to experiment on the fly.
I
No,
think
no
that
question.
the metallics are awesome as well. And now also on top of the white, the metallics shine. But oh, hello, Axel. And
Hello, everyone.
but any color on top of the white, not any, but many, like that ochre, like really shine on top of the white. Like it pretends to be a metallic somehow.
Interesting. Oh, look at this.
Wonderful.
Franziska has something she wants to show us. Great.
Do
All
you
right.
see it the right way? Because it's mirrored to
Yes.
me. Okay.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not flipped. Yeah.
So what I found out, I mixed the mixes. So I had the mix of the 705 and the 305, and it turns out to be an exact opaque to the 303.
Now,
To the
can
blue.
we just celebrate this? Because how many of you have worked with 303 and it layers on white
Yes.
paper and it's
Yes.
kind of annoying? But if we have an
Absolutely.
opaque version,
Yeah,
how exciting is that?
absolutely. Yes, it is.
And I found out on the 703, if I put over the white, it doesn't show that well, but I'm getting a pink vibe in it. And it's for some reason, the other color part of the 703 is showing. And it is like, oh yeah, here, you see the pink. That's the
Yeah.
real color. It's like the cover marker dissolves or brings out some kind of pinkish particle in the 703. I kind of needed like a pretty purple, chocolatey purple. And it does something else with the cover.
So this is exciting. And I'm curious if it's repeatable. So is it consistent with those two colors? The 705 and the cover make a bit of a pink. You said that that happens on black. Does it happen on white? Or have you
I have
tried it?
white paper and I will try it out, but it is yeah, it's a 703.
Mhm.
I have not yet saw it. I didn't see it in other colors as well. So sometimes the color particles, but I will just draw on my paper and will tell you in a few minutes.
Okay, awesome. And I'm also going to share something. This is the color that Guido sent us. What is that? The 705. So I have the mix down first, the mix that he gave us. And then on the left, I'm putting the raw 705. So that's just straight ink from the marker. And then on the upper right, you'll see I'm using cover. And I push down really, really hard. And what these little bubble things are actual bubbles that have dried. These are just like I push down so hard that I deposit so much ink that they create a bubble. And then that kind of adds to it. Now, is this consistent? This isn't something that I would say is consistent because everybody has different amounts of pressure and it would need to be a brand new ink. Now, like it's got a lot of ink. A couple of other things I'm doing as I'm experimenting is I'm dipping my nibs in a little container that has cover in it. So I'm making sure that I have plenty of ink because I find that if I don't have a lot of ink, notice on this A that when it fades down out here, it's not really white anymore. And so in these upper right corners, I want a lot of ink. So I dip it into cover and then do it. And so I'm acting like it's a brush essentially. But I'm noticing that the more dense I get, of course, the more ink it becomes more opaque. But I'm not getting I can't tell if I'm getting a chemical reaction like you did, Franziska, because I'm not worried about it. But, like I'm okay with it. Yeah. Cool.
I actually see it on the white one too.
Okay.
That the pinkish comes out. But it always takes a few minutes. I mean, it's interesting to look at it when it dries. It's like always a delayed effect if people are watching you and then they think you hit the color and maybe the letters look different, and after 10 minutes they all turn opaque. I hated this when Neuland brought out the first white one marker they had a few years ago, because you had to sit in front of there and you couldn't see your own writing because
Yeah.
you had to wait like 5 minutes. That was kind of frustrating.
And here, even with the shifts, it's like we have to get really good at knowing what we did. So take lots of notes and then saying this is the result so that we can kind of know what it's going to show up as. That's a little hard for us that are working really fast, isn't it? It's like I kind of want to see what I just put on the paper and not
Yeah.
have to wait. Yeah. Who else has something to share? And then I want to come back to Franziska because she had a wonderful tragedy last week that we can all learn from.
I
Little
just want to make
clipping.
a little comment that to me, in my experimenting, it really reacts to pressure. Like, so I don't know, you see here, like these circles, like in this side, it's like really more opaque. And if I put less pressure, it's lighter. So like playing with also like when you do lettering, Heather, that you do it so nicely, like not just for the thick width of the lines, or it's not for narrowing or making them thicker, but also for the
Pressure, yeah.
less or more opaque with the
And that
pressure.
works wonderful with the brush, right? It's like that's a really great combination of
Yeah.
pressure with the art marker, with the art nib. So I haven't heard yet from Axel, Martine, or Sketchy.
Uh, well, I got my material only yesterday.
Oh.
So last time you were all showing those stuff, and I was thinking, where do they get the stuff from?
Oh
And
no.
apparently the delivery that they choose for me, they don't deliver. They even don't put the paper in my postbox. So I never got it. So I got a message from Neuland, your material came back. What's wrong? And then so I only got it yesterday. So I didn't do anything until now. So I was
Okay.
just now doing, while you're talking, I was
Oh, nice.
trying it out. Just yeah, so you see, that's just
Yeah.
the last 5 minutes. But what I also, because this is also from the last 5 minutes, it dries really slow. That's something I saw because I started my second drawing and then I saw that my first drawing was sticky. I mean, the paper was sticky. So that's
Yeah.
maybe something we have to take into account, that it doesn't dry as fast as a normal marker. That's the only
Yeah.
thing. And then the rest is just, so it's the white and the purple. And yeah.
That's really great to know when we're working in our sketchbooks, right? Like
Mhm.
it's okay if we're at the wall, except for if it's way too juicy. I haven't had any experience with it running on paper, but I have had experience of it running on glass. If I'm pushing too hard and I have lots of ink, it will run slightly. Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's beautiful on glass.
And by the way, that's maybe interesting. I will have something to show in a few weeks because, like I said, we're going to Stanford. So, and as I knew that Neuland wants more exposure for this cover marker, so I asked if they could sponsor me this kind of. You see this?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
label.
Yeah, the labels.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So I was saying that we were going to create postcards or something. So they will send me a bunch of those to take to California, and we will do like small recordings, like mini stories with the cover marker and the black and the normal, the fine one outliner together. So
Uh-huh.
something like that on those tags. So, and the aim is to create like 500 of them because there are 500 at least. So anyway, so then, and I promised Neuland, if they pay all the cards, that I will share it and share my experience with the community. So
Wonderful. Please
Amazing.
also put that in the Padlet. So because those are tags and they have a hole in it, do you plan on hanging them or putting
Yeah.
them together in some way?
one somehow, yeah, because they proposed the other tag paper, the larger, but they don't have anything, and they're also pretty thin. So I was afraid that if we use this cover marker on it, that it becomes a little bit, I don't know, because it doesn't feel like quality paper. So yeah, we are planning to put them somewhere that people can take them as a souvenir from.
Wow.
Things, yeah.
That's fabulous. I love it. What questions do you have for Excel? Yay. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, me neither. I hope it works well.
That's great. Okay, I'm putting you on the
Nicole?
spot, Martine and Sketchy.
Yes, I can say something. I'm hesitating between loving these cover markers and hating them. It's like it's difficult. When I'm here at home and I have my post-it or colored paper, I can play with it and see, hey, what is happening now? But for me, in what I'm doing now with my clients, I don't see any use. Except, for instance, if I would want to prepare some boards upfront and do some upfront work, then I can see the use if I want to do that. And it would depend on the client if I want to put effort in or just start with a blank sheet at the moment itself. So real live graphic recording, I don't see the use at this moment, except maybe when you do the black outliner and then a little bit white on top, something like that, but not so far. But I like playing it. What is a marker does, what is happening. And I had this experiment. It's in the Padlet. It was funny because I saw your movie, Heather, about ombre. And I said, I want to try it. And it really worked. But I had it in my sketchbook. And I saw in my sketchbook, I don't like the page because there is this word, but I wasn't happy with it. So no problem. What you do in a sketchbook, if you don't like a page, you put some gesso and you go with gesso over it, and you have again a blank page. Great.
Not in
But
this case.
in this case, I don't know how many layers of gesso are in it, but every time, and it was also after a while. So it was not at the moment itself, but after a while. So the text came ghosting again, and ghosting very strong, because here I think there are a lot of layers on it. And what they told me afterwards, not Neuland, but somebody else who I talked with it, is this is, I don't know how to translate it in English, but it is about color and it is not pigment. And color is always activated by water. So there is still some water in the gesso, and the color is always activated. And some colors are more activated. And that's maybe why Francesca get this pinkish thing, because the water also will activate this color. And some colors are more activated than others. And while when you work with pigments, you wouldn't have it. And when you do something with pigment and you gesso over it, no problem. 1 or 2 layers will do, certainly. But here the color still get activated all the time. That's what was happening here.
Wow. So I read your detail and I responded as well.
Yeah.
It looks like this was a bit of a failure, but a discovery. How could you use this, do you think, in the future?
I don't know.
Yes.
I don't
And I
know
love that.
because
Yeah.
I was just playing and I'm still looking for uses for the marker anyhow. So I don't know.
Okay. Well, what I love about you, Martine, is that you are so direct. And I want you to know that when you said that, you don't see a use for it yet, this is why I brought this group together. Because as soon as I got my markers, I put hours into it. I got completely frustrated and I went, someone has to be experiencing the same thing and same frustrations that I am. And so I wanted to get all my besties together and talk about these things so we can help not only each other, but hopefully in the future, give other Neuland users some ideas, because we know that the white marker that they came out with a few years ago didn't work. It was a fail, you know, it didn't work. I was actually buying up the ink during COVID like crazy. I was putting it out there. If anybody has that white ink, I want it, because I was using it to experiment with. And I kept telling Neuland, we need a thicker white. We need a white that works. And so they did it. And now they've given it to us. I think it's pretty brave of them to put it back out in the market without, you know, having us test it first. But here we are testing it, right? And so whatever we can do to go back to them and say, these are the ways we're using it, I think they would be really grateful. Yeah. And I think that the users would be too, because we don't want people to get a product and then be like, oh, this isn't any good, right? And no one, maybe some people, but there probably aren't going to be people as invested as we are that are going to do this level of research. So I'm so glad that you said that, because you're not alone. And maybe it just takes more time or being really intentional about your use. You know, Elena found her layers. Yeah.
See where you can use it. Do you use it in a live setting? Or do you use it to prepare some things? I can imagine when I give a training that I make all the name tags for my participant this way.
Yeah.
Now I do it in another way with another marker, but I do it this way only for the live and live settings. And it also depends, and that's a story I'm going to do with Drawify, with Excel at the end of the month. It depends also on your audience. In some audience are very straightforward, and it's a content you need, and then not all these fancy things. And
I think it's, and I think it's great if we find really practical uses, what we're using it for. And when Franziska showed us that 303 and how it's the opaque version of 303, to me, that solved something I've been trying to get to. And that is, I want to take my client's color palette and I want to work on brown paper, because I feel more comfortable on brown paper, but I need ink that's going to lay on top of the paper and be more opaque. Now, I've always just used acrylic, but we also know the shaking is loud. It's inconsistent in terms of how it comes out. I love the acrylic, don't get me wrong, I use it all the time, but having it in an actual marker, in the art marker, is like, this is groundbreaking to me. And she's got the purple, that's not my client's color, but if I can figure out how to do that with my client's colors and get it through that art marker, then I can do it live.
Yeah.
So it's about finding that palette. Yeah.
I have to say, I love the art marker and I love the big ones. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're just at that little pain point right now, figuring out what's the best use. And my quote that I've said from the beginning of me teaching is, I'm just going to pick something up. What is this tool designed for? And what else can it do? Right? Because that's going to satisfy the people that are like, I just want to pick it up, take the cap off and go. There's some people that are never going to experiment, and that's okay. But if we can show them how to, if you mix it this way and use it this way, then they're like, this is great. They're differentiating themselves from other visual practitioners, right? And then if we say, what else can it do? Oh boy, the sky's the limit, right? There's so many possibilities. So Sketchy, what do you think about all this?
Well, I haven't spoken in a moment. Well, I'm happy to be here, and I'm way ahead of Excel because I received my markers already a couple of weeks ago, but I've just charged them. I finished, like, now it's 17:33. The meeting started at 17, and I think at 17:02 I finished filling them. So at 17:03 I could connect. So
Okay, welcome.
How do I feel about them? I've tried as well a couple of things here, and besides the 705 and 305, I also took two other art markers, brush, the big one art, the 401 and the 500. And I just started making some lines, like when when Elena was talking about music, and I could see how the two markers that were provided to us really stand out much more than the others. You cannot maybe here on the hello as well. It just did one line, and the green and the yellow you almost don't see it.
Yeah.
So then I tried here just again to put some random lines on the paper and to go with the Neuland big one, the white one, and I think that's a nice effect. The one thing that the white this art cover I've already received before number one, and I took it to some recordings because I like to make some white highlights on letter, and I realized that like on black it doesn't work so well. It works well on black paper, but it doesn't work so well on a number one on an outliner.
And that's with the
top,
number one. So it doesn't, you
on
can't
top
really
of
put, you can't get a lot of ink down like you can with a brush.
Mhm.
yeah, it's true, but still, yeah, it's true with the brush. It's a bit better, but it still kind of bleeds through the black, and it's not a nice white effect.
Yeah.
But I once did, well, probably 4 years ago, one graphic recording on black paper with acrylic markers, and it was just an experiment. I'm happy about the result, but it was a mess doing
Yeah.
it. I was way slower than with other markers. It was just like pretty much since then I still have 18 meters of black paper
Right.
in the roll that I haven't used. But now, knowing that how well they work on black paper when mixed, I
Yeah.
think I could make a selection of colors and actually give and of different size markers and give it another go for a black graphic recording, because I think that they really look good on black paper.
Yeah.
Bring a piece,
But
bring a piece to Stanford, people. That black paper. We can do something with it. Bring
I can, but I would need to
2 meters.
fold it in a way that
Just
but
maybe.
yes, absolutely. No, it's so that's something I'm very much looking forward to experiment on the large scale on black paper.
That's fantastic. And I love what you said about finding a selection of colors. So I love that some of us are thinking very much in the same lines and then learning from each other. I did the same thing you did, Sketchy, in the very first few minutes. And that was, I'm going to put down all these colors and then see how they react. Because even though Neuland gave us, the two best colors that actually show up, or so far that we've discovered, I didn't like them. I went, this looks like an Easter egg to me. No offense to Easter, but I don't like pastels. It's not part of what I do. And so I immediately thought, I want to try a bunch of different colors. And now I'm seeing that playing with the ratios and getting those colors just right. And now I'm beginning to test on the brown. And so I saw a
Well,
big head. Yeah, thank you. Oh yeah, Sketchy.
Because it looks good. Like, we just
Yeah.
use these ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like, I need to find maybe other colors that work. They work well, because I'd like to combine also, just track, like just rewriting on the black, making big lines, and then just writing normally on
Yeah.
top of it. And it gets naturally some nuances, and it picks the different colors naturally. So that's pretty
Well,
cool.
you are the fastest lettering artist I know. And I say that because there are probably visual practitioners that could be faster than you, but not that has that like well lettering. Like your lettering is excellent at your speed. I've never seen anything like it. You like hold the world's record, Sketchy.
Mhm.
So I'm saying that because already you've had these in your hands for a couple of minutes and you're making these discoveries. I can't wait to see what you do with it and then apply it to the lettering. This is going to be so exciting. Yay. So I
Forward
saw
as well.
I saw big nods from Francisco when I was talking about pastels. I think we share a mutual, maybe not dislike, but maybe for
yeah,
pastels.
Easter and spring is hard for me,
Yeah.
decoration wise. I'm dying.
Oh, no.
It's like Easter is like least favorite time, because yeah, they all look so soft.
Yeah.
And for a
So I
while,
know you, yeah, go ahead.
I was happy about whenever last 2 years the text markers became pastel but still see-through, it was okay. But the only pastels I like are shades of gray because I needed those. And I did something stupid last week when I wrote you out of pure panic. Because I always asked Guido for a while already. It's like, I want a different outliner. Like I have one brush adding porcelain pen. I'm always using those. There are a few colors as outliners and they work as well as the Neuland outliner, but they're not as big. So for some reason I thought, why not mix white and black? And at first, this worked amazingly, actually, because I got gradients. I mixed myself a dark and light gray. So on black paper, they barely differentiate, but on white paper, they do exactly what they're supposed to. So I just made a rough mixture and I put like samples of it on the markers and I put them in these round nibs, but I had, for some reason, I don't know, 2 different kind of round nibs with different charges by Neuland. And I had them with me, and then night before I wanted to use them, they were damp, they were dried out. And you wrote me, Heather, that actually you're not supposed to mix out the cover and the outliner because they have different they're different solutions.
And I learned, don't tell Franziska you're not supposed to do something.
Well, problem was I was traveling to another client and I only had these markers with me. I found others for the purple that I could use. But I found out that this roundish nib is not as good. The one that's a bit more pointy is better. But I could revive them the same as I can revive those by just putting them underwater and rinsing them out. I mean, if they have them laying around for too long, they have some kinds of gradient that they build. So the faces, they dissolve. So I have to, before use them, put them then on top again, and it works. So I actually have 2 grays now that I can revive, and I used them in a recording, and it worked fine. I actually have now 2 outliner grays that I can draw over and use. I mean, they're still a bit bitchy in a way of reactivating them, so I'm not trusting them yet completely.
Yeah.
But I will keep on doing those mixes because I wanted to have a fade out effect when writing. I want to have some big black letters and then turn them into gray, because sometimes on the white paper the contrast is sometimes too high. Like I don't always want to have that black showing up on the white. And for some reasons, I want to have that hierarchy by colors, with the gray. And it actually works. Not consistent yet, but I will get there and just try out. I think the twin markers, as you said, they have a good, for some reason, the way air gets in or not out, it's really good for the markers and the ink. But there's actually a way to make another outliner color.
Wow. That's huge. Who's ready to take on that challenge? I know I am. And I want to do it in the twin one. So that was my next thing, is I've been doing a lot of twin one. I love, of course, the big one. That's my favorite. But the twin one has really given me some flexibility. And I take off the wedge side because I always want to have the brush there because that's my nib. But I've been putting in the round nib, which is also sharp. So the round nib for the twin one, if those of you have never used it, is slightly sharper than the number one. So you might be able to get, I've had good results with that. So.
And that one nib is actually the only one you can use in the chisel number 1 markers as well. So I take out all the wedge nibs, and that twin one pointy round nib is the only one that you can actually fit into the #1 markers.
That's a huge discovery.
Great to
Did
know.
anybody else
All of
know
them.
that?
Nope.
This is why we get together, because we
Mhm.
are all alone trying these things. I love it. Oh my gosh, that's wonderful. Francisca, now I'm pointing her out because she was actually on the call the first time I introduced the cover marker to my lettering friends. And she was there and she made the discovery that when you put down a color and then you put down outliner and then you go back over with cover, that it seeps through. Now, when she said it, I didn't believe her. And then she showed me and then I tried it. It was like, what does this even mean? Right? So I don't know if you taken it any further, and I'm just going to call you out and see if there's anything else you want to share because you've been really experimental. You're loads before me, like years ahead of me.
Yeah, I did it on partly covered colored paper where I wanted to have the gradient. I took like yellow crafting paper and then put some orange and red over there. And I did like a person with a really big wig like Marge Simpson because I wanted to use the wig, the hair as a speech bubble or something, some kind of container. And then I went over it with the cover one. And then of course the writing had some kind of gradient. And it was a nice effect. It doesn't always show on an image if you take a picture, but it's fun, especially if you have like curls you put in there, and then you have that shade of gradient. I didn't use it very often, but if I used it, it was really on purpose, and it was a nice effect. If not to make it too colorful, but then I had that spot. I exactly had this show off magic effect.
Wow. And do you think it's repeatable?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. So you're going to hear me say this a lot. Is it repeatable? Is it consistent? Can we show it? Or is it still in experimenting, or we don't know yet, or here's a discovery? And the reason why I say that is because when I think about how we can deliver this to the public, to the world as a group, I would love for us to be able to do that. And I still think it might be a little too soon, right? Like, I think other people haven't even gone as far as we have, probably. But what might feel like a good time? And if we're not ready to say 3 months, 6 months, that's fine. But maybe when do we know it's time to share with the world that we're ready to show our discoveries? When would you feel? And I think it'd be good to just know, when do people feel most comfortable to share out?
I think when we would have 3 or 4 different use cases that are repeatable.
Per person or just in total?
No, in general. No, in general. I think that you don't have to wait longer because it can help. But then, yeah, people can see, oh, you know, now it can be, oh, that's nice, that's interesting, and turn around and go on with the usual stuff. But they see, oh, that's nice, interesting, and I can use it. So I think 3 or 4 use cases, different ones, that can be interesting for a visual practitioner. And you can see it very general. You can see it working before to prepare things, during and after. So that they give the different.
Excellent.
That
Thank you,
would
Martine.
be a reason to get out. And I think now it's way too early.
Yeah. Good. Who else? How else will you know, even personally? Francesco, yeah.
I think I have exactly the opposite perspective that you have, Martin. In at least 2 ways. One, personally, whenever I come up with an idea, I share it straight away. I'm not strategic, more instinctive, reactive. Maybe reactive is more accurate, and impatient. So that's one thing. And I like the flow, as opposed to Big Bang release of here are 3 ideas for you, or a structured campaign. Is there's a consistent flow of ideas. And if I think about the numbers, I know you convinced me the last time that there's no hierarchy, there's no chart who's more experimentative, who's more expert. But I've done a fraction of what you've done. For me, being in these sessions, I've already inspired to do a lot of things, just looking at the different applications that are present on the Padlet. There are at least 10 different ideas on how I think I can use my markers going forward. For example, I never mix colors. I never even consider to create my own colors. For me, that's already a new thing. What we showed the last time, the different application on brown paper, I never really considered to work on brown paper, even if I took an entire course with Heather and I've seen some of their work, but it's only now that I'm starting to think, maybe I want to experiment with brown paper. I think there's already the dice that we show, that we saw, what Elena shared today, go and use it, bring it as a different tool when you go out for a drink in a jazz club. These are all things that are, to me, they are amazing. It's how do I live the tool? It's a different level of experimentation, different level of interaction. I think we've already shared at least 10. At least 10.
At least 10.
things.
Okay, now you're saying numbers. And maybe as a group, or what do you mean?
No, as a group, go back on the Padlet, look at the ideas that are there.
Oh, yeah.
Like the good ideas, not the couple of crappy things I have done. There's amazing stuff already.
Well, I think we're talking about a couple of different things, and I love this because I think as a group, we need to have like a solid showing that's consistent and that here's some use cases. But I love what you're saying about it is you show it as you go, and you're showing it on social media. Is that what you mean?
Yes, and we could do.
Or we could do a
decide
series.
We could do both things actually. Even there's a build up. These are all the experimentations that then will lead in 6 months' time to the final showcase.
Yeah.
We could show as we prepare it if you want.
Yeah, we could do that too. I think that's a great way to hype it up. And I've been putting stuff on social media. Yeah. Sketchy, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, no, just because I've seen that several people, several ambassadors or toolmasters have been sharing already about the Undercover markers and what they're doing with that. And Neuland has been pretty active on social media sharing them. So I also felt a little bit the pressure, say, oh my God, I haven't done nothing yet. I haven't started yet. I should be doing
working.
something. I have to do something as well. So in a way, I feel like, yes, as a group, we should maybe, offer some way to, well, maybe some online classes or short classes or something to showcase what can be done with it. Still, while individually still sharing our experience, because I feel like if we wait until we have all the things collected and we set up something, then we might lose a little bit the train that kind of Neuland is setting right now with posting and sharing regularly about their newest tool.
Yeah. I love that. Who would like to add to that?
I like to come. Oh, sorry, Francisca. Go ahead, please.
I think maybe sharing the results, what each of us individually can create with them is a good teaser. And then maybe collectively offer people really to show the methods, because in the last few weeks, I was talking to really a lot of visual practitioners, even online, by incident, because I sold some of my old markers. I had so many and I just sorted them out. And people always told me, and even graphic recorders, good colleagues, yeah, for a long time I was just buying new markers. I wasn't refilling them, and my heart was dying, and I was just like, I mean, it is sometimes messy, but in comparison to what I did in the lab back then, this is not poisonous. You just get ink on your fingers. People don't know how to refill these markers. And I think that's the chance, by mixing them, to get people adventurous and excited about using these little bulbs of joy.
I love that. Yes. And I agree that we don't have to wait to showcase everything, because here's what I've learned just with my own, and you may have too, with my own practice, is that not everybody can take my class. Not everybody can show up the day that I'm doing it or will watch the video. But when they see little snippets, sometimes they need to see it. I think there's some rule about 7 times they need to see it over and over and over. And if we're all in some way putting some kind of a post out there, whether you just do one or you do one every day, that's going to create a momentum that when we do decide to do something online or live, then I think we could have a really great showing. Now, I asked Neuland, I asked Guido if he wanted, if they wanted to be involved in that. And it sounded like he would rather us self-organize. And I've worked both with Neuland and self-organized to promote Neuland things with Zandra and Brandy before. So I think really here it would be about each of us feeling really good about having either a technique or a use case or both or several, and then being able to say, okay, who's ready? And we can pick a date, and then we just come up with some slots. And then if we kind of say, okay, here's what I'm going to do, then we can know who to follow. So maybe we start with a very basic and then build up as we go. I don't know. What do you all think of that idea? And then maybe have a couple of those in the next year.
I agree with that, and I was like in sync with what Francisca was saying as well, and that I feel that, and everyone also, the combination, and I'm feeling, as long as I'm listening to what you are saying, I feel like we share our approach and our understanding, and as Francisca said, it's amazing that some people aren't really like underusing the possibilities of the markers, and I'm feeling like with those ideas of a use case and also tips and tricks, like that moment that like holds everything. It's like in a sort of a festival, like an online festival where we are like, okay, now we have this line of 10 minutes or 5 minutes of how to, and then maybe a longer case. So it's like a getting together, like festival that of sharing how to make the best of the markers. And then it's like, and as we are experimenting now, you all said about learning in this conversation. Okay, I have discovered this, then I put the outliner, and then the color shows, and so we'll learn. So it's like make this easy getting together about sharing for all the rest of our colleagues.
Yeah, I love that. Of course, we'll want to find a time that's kind to everyone, where we have a couple of showings at different times. I think it can be done pretty easily without too much organization. If someone decides they want to build a platform and have a beautiful, colorful agenda, I would say go for it. I tend to be sort of let's just promote the heck out of it and show up and play, but then also have it structured enough that this is this person's time and this person's time. But I don't know that I want to over organize it. I'll just say that I don't have the energy or the time. But I think, especially if it's recorded, and if we could put it on Neuland's YouTube page, and then we can all embed that in our websites if we want, or share it out on social media, then I think we can reach a pretty broad audience, whether they see it live or in person, or live or recording. What other thoughts do you have? Because I know it's close to the top of the hour.
I think when collecting the idea, it is always good to have one or two approaches on to cover the lettering side, like you did with the neon. I mean, that is like a clear, tidy up, laying over another, and then figuring out the effect. Because we get many visual practitioners just by the lettering part. And then others who love to draw, where I don't really yet found my application for the covers, not yet, to have these both sides. And in between, there will be so many people just merging that. I'm always, as you said, I'm always trying to figure out where can I put this technique now? Because in a graphic recording, it has to go fast. Yes. But if I am the type of a graphic recorder, a visual practitioner that develops these huge key visuals in advance because I got time, then I'm more on the drawing side. And if we can look maybe for applications on both ends, then we will just reach so many more people and get them thinking, how could I apply this? And maybe that's like a checklist of maybe we have everything on both ends covered.
Love that. Love that. Who wants to build on that idea? Love that.
I
Oh, yeah.
please go
Oh,
ahead.
go, oh, go ahead. Come on, Francisco.
Thank you. I really like what you suggested, Francisco. I think there are even more types of practitioner, and maybe, for example, the type I'm thinking of are people who are happy to keep using the tool in the most basic way, and what they, oh dear, filters. They're happy to keep the tools in the most basic way, and what they want to get is great result fast, because they don't have so much time to prepare upfront. So they want to be fast. They want a cheap preparation, if you want. And that's at least a third category of people. And I belong to those, by the way. And I'm sure if we explore more, we can find more types of users of Neuland markers.
Yeah, this might be fun to map out, because when I see lettering and drawing, I also see, are these studio pieces and pre-prepared, or is this live? So it could be that it's like a matrix or something, right? So that's overlaid. It's not like a third category. It's like, do you work fast or do you work slow? Are you mainly lettering? Are you mainly drawing? If you're somewhere in the middle, you can still be, fast or slow. Or it may be, again, about application, because I think we all do some preparation on some of our charts beforehand. We can do some things, and then there's some that work live. I have gotten to the point now where I rarely do any live work, and I am supporting teams by creating everything ahead of time and then giving them the materials that they facilitate to. That's a whole different way of working. But I think for those who are working live, boy, we better have it down to where they know what they can depend on. And I think that Franziska was an excellent case, and she could tell that story again if she wanted, about how she was away from her studio. She only had these materials. She was working with a client palette, and those were the only markers she took. Now, how many of us get in that situation, and we got to figure our way out of it? So we've got to make sure that what we're showing, that we're very clear, this is what to do when you're live and working fast. This is what you can play around and experiment with. Yeah. And if there's another category in there, and I know you know one, Francesco, you're going to find it. Yeah. Elena.
I love that, and I think that on top of the possibilities of the marker, I think that could be quite illuminating for professionals, because as we all relate to our other colleagues and all listening to each other, I think that we are all biased, and I include myself as, of course, biased by our own experience. So there are, and talking about slow or fast, or prepare or not prepare. And that's my perception, definitely my point of view, but I see that we are all biased, but our own experience, that, okay, mainly things are this way, are done this way, or mainly, and I think there's no mainly. There's such a huge spectrum, and everything works, and I think that would be also quite illuminating for all of us as visual practitioners, that we all fit in this spectrum, but and there are many other things that could enrich our own approach. I think, and when I talk to people, I say that, like, just trust on your approach. Everyone has it. We all have our own approach, and all are valid, but we can stay on our approach, but enrich from others, like we are strong in our space. And I think that's very interesting what you say about that. And maybe that's obviously for a long other conversation. So I don't want to open
I
on that.
love it. I think we can totally explore that. And if we mapped it out,
yes,
I think some of us could say, I live in this spot, but there's some of us could be like, I live in all 4 of these areas, right? And so maybe we make it really clear when it comes time for us to present, to say, I'm going to show this for those of you who are working live, or I'm going to show this for those of you who have time to prepare and experiment. And then that way they know right off the bat if they're interested in watching, or if they're going to sit, like playing along, or if they're going to sit back and kind of watch. Because some people don't want change. They're like, they're good. I get a lot of people that come to me and they say, don't challenge me. Well, I tell them you've come to the wrong place, but but there are people that feel that way. And we kind of have to say, okay, here's what you can do. And then they stop and then we keep going, right?
Yeah,
Or they
and
keep watching and
I-
you inspire them.
that's beautiful and inspiration. And did you say, Heather? And please excuse me for taking so much space, but myself, I'm on the fast side, but I learned so much from those that are on the other side, because there are so many things that I don't think of. And if I learn that, I can like add to what I can offer. And I get so much learning from the opposite side, a lot. And I'm grateful to listen to other practices that enrichen my approach, because maybe mine, I'm like in that way, and then, oh, okay, I can explore and add on to my practice.
Who else can resonate with enjoying learning from other visual practitioners? Yeah, sketchy. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
well,
think that, yeah, go ahead.
try out like if there's like a flow chart where you can like go pathways. I mean, whenever you said this could be like a matrix, I already had my first diagram down here.
Perfect. Let's use it. Like, let's build on that. So here's the thing. There's going to be some of us that are going to be like, I don't want to be in a flow chart. And others that are going to be like, yes, I'm so glad you figured it out. Show us the way. And and the reason why I laughed, and because I was thinking about Sketchy, when I saw him first land into the scene with a huge splash in Copenhagen. Maybe it was before that, but that's when I first met him. He appreciated community. And you lived it. Like, you could stand or just watch Sketchy from across the room and be like, he's digging it. And you modeled the way for how to show up in community. And so, yeah, when you were the first person to raise your hand, I was like, of course, Sketchy. You're totally digging this. So that's the vibe that I want to bring when we share this out to everyone, because I think it's something we all share. And I think that when we can show that excitement and we can show them some very repeatable, consistent use cases, I think we're going to be able to reach a lot of people. And so I got to go back to Franziska. Are you brave enough to show us what you have so far? Even if it's not complete thought?
Yeah, I have like already two different approaches, because I'm thinking of how many dimensions do we need?
Yes.
Because I'm coming up with categories. So I started out with that one, like lettering, drawing, slow work, fast work, and then I thought, well, maybe the comic artists, they would go for, is it outline based, but then could it be like a decision net? So right, thinking in dimensions, like who could you is drawing and lettering, because if you letter or do more with lettering, you're faster. If you draw a lot, you can be slower, but that's not always. So is it better to make like a spider web matrix?
Ah,
where
yeah.
you can put
Like
the
a
mark.
self-assessment. People can self-assess. Yeah.
Yeah, where to put yourself, or is it better to do like a matrix or even a flow chart? Because me being very nerdy, I mean, I got this from Karan Dash once when I met them, is they sort their, let me switch the camera, they sort their pens by solubility. So, and I did this in my shelf as well. So I have markers that alcohol based are on a different level than the ones that are water based and by pigments, so that I just have to think what is the base that I got, what I need to work on the paper, and it's like a big diagram. That's how I put it in my IKEA shelf. So I have these spots where it's actually a graph, and that's sometimes how I decide what to use. And maybe I can, this can be like a decision-based model. It probably will make more sense by questions, and like a flow chart where you can answer the questions like, do I want to draw more, or am I the outliner comic drawing type? But maybe it's just like I'm figuring it out by examples, and then over time there will be a stem evolving where you
Yes.
can use.
Is
But there is.
everybody okay with Franziska like running with that?
Yeah, I want to say something. So I'm the and Martin will probably know, I'm a very lazy person in a way that I will not easily experiment. I will not easily invent. I will look around and steal it. And so
It's
I'm
called
lazy.
busy, not lazy.
I'm not lazy at all, but I'm absolutely not experimental. I'm always working very fast, and so I'm never preparing, just showing up, doing my job, and gone. And that's what I want to do. But when I do that, I encounter frictions. Like, for instance, the acryl marker is a friction. I want to use it on dark paper or on brown paper, or I want to use it to write on black, like I did here with my. So you do the. Yeah, I did that while we were talking. Otherwise
Okay,
I
hold
could-
on. Hold that back up.
Okay.
We want to see this.
So I was just playing with the, like Sketchy said, with the white on the black is not so well, so I tried it out. But so it's a friction I have when I'm trying to do that with my acryl, that it's like you said, it's loud, it's slow. So that's a friction for me as a fast worker that I have with acryl. So if I would see a title looking for a solution, a white acryl, a replacement of your white acryls because it's too slow and too loud, then I would immediately look at that solution because it's a friction I have, and that tool is the solution for that friction. So I'm not the person who is going to look around, what can I do differently? If I don't have a problem, I just continue
Right.
what I'm doing.
I love this. So how quickly do we need to be able to show that? And I'm saying that because you're like an avatar or a persona right now, right? And so you're the ideal client that you want to just steal an idea because you have this problem and you're like, I want to know how to do this. How much time do you need to see that in? Are you good if it was 7 minutes, or does it need to be 3, or could you watch it for 20?
Oh, if possible, 1 or 2.
What if
I
you
really-
saw, okay, this is really good. So what if you saw like a 30-second teaser on Instagram or on social media and you're like, that solves my problem.
Exactly.
I'll
Yeah.
go sign up for this thing and watch them talk about it for 20 minutes because I know when they're going to talk about it.
Yeah, so if I would see, do you have problem with your acryl? It's too slow and too loud, and I would see black and then someone writing with a. I need 20 seconds to see that, and then I probably not will go to the video because I don't feel like watching 20 minutes video. I will try it myself. And so if I
Okay.
have, of course, the marker, if I have it, of course. But so what I want to say is that I think we even more have to think about starting from frictions instead of possibility for some people, and for people like me, starting from frictions and problems rather than possibilities and opportunities, because I'm probably that I want to be challenged, but I'm probably that person in the tunnel. If everything is going well, I go for, and especially when you're busy. So
I
so
love this. And maybe I'm going to unspotlight you for a second because I think this is a great conversation. I think some of us, again, are going to be very experimental and possibilities. And some of us, like you said, are going to be problem based. I just want that solution now. And so that's good. And I think we each get to decide how do we want to show up and present, where does that show up? Because even though I'm all about possibilities and I don't think about problems because I'm an appreciative inquiry person, if I have a problem, I'll sit with it, but I don't start there. That's not my starting point ever. However, as I was working, I went, you know what? No one's going to do this with me. What's the one thing I can do that people will do with me that's short, fast, and gets to the point? And so I take my project and, like Franziska said, I made neon. I made a neon look that's fast, it's clear, it's clean. And for the straight line people, the people that like block letters, they're going to love this lettering style. I don't show it a lot because I'm not very good at it, but I can solve that problem. And then I can go play over here with those who want to play. Yeah. I love that you're saying that because I think we have to represent that too.
yeah, because if you were not in this session, and it was not because I was an ambassador of Neuland, I would never come to a session like this. I mean, and of course, I love to see the community and I love to see the people, but it's not something I would spend time on when I don't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
Unless I know it's solving a problem. In this case, I want to represent Neuland correctly, so that's why
Yeah.
I'm coming, and because it's
Well,
you
thank
also,
you.
Heather.
And
the other people, right? But otherwise, I would never come to a session like this.
yeah, well,
It's
thank
just
you
so,
for being
yeah.
honest. And I think that could challenge each one of us, that if we're like, if we think about Excel, what could I do for Excel? And not just for you, but for all the people you represent. What's the one thing I can do to say, and if you don't have a lot of time, here's my quick tip I would like to share.
Yeah.
And Martine, you had your hand up.
Yes, I want to add to what Axel said. So we have, I come back in what I'm saying about 3 or 4 use case. We don't have to wait very long. I love the model that Francesca is building, and I'm really, wow, what is happening? What a kind of thinking. And I would be very curious to see how it evolves. But I think if you wait for that and to fill in, to put people in these different places, it would bring us too far. And it's not so important. So I could see what Axel is saying, solve some frictions. And on the other hand, you call it people who want to experiment. And I don't know if you want to go so far. Because, for instance, mixing inks, even in the field of visual practitioners, I think 3 people who have been mixing inks. It's like Heather, you. It's like Kelvin Bird, who mixes her own colors. And I know Diane Black has also played with mixing. All the other people don't. I think I
Iris.
never do that because you
No.
take the picture you have. And even I like to try some new things. Not really for the experiment, but I don't want to do the same thing. So if I go with a client, I have always a mini challenge in my head for myself. Nobody knows that, but that's my challenge. So for instance, only use these colors today, or maybe write this lettering today. So I have also the mini challenge for me to do something new. But I'm not a big experimentalist in this field of work. So I think we don't have to wait and build big theories around it before we can come out. 3 or 4 different cases can be enough to start instead of waiting for months. But I love to see what you are doing and thinking, Francisca.
So I love that. And I just want to say that by you, Martine, showing up and saying, I think we should have this. And then Francesco saying, but I see something different. I think we can put out a model like what Francisca just did. And then if people want to argue over it, great. It started a conversation. So Francisca, I'd say if you want help with this, it sounds like Martine has some energy around it, and you can decide at what level do you collaborate, or does she give you feedback? Or I got to tell you, if the 2 of you don't know each other, you're both fabulous. And I'm glad you're in the same room. And I would love to just be a fly on the wall to see the 2 of you have a conversation.
Yeah, I would just make 2 clean versions and then put it in the Padlet.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
But it would be great. I'm a little bit afraid if we are starting to work with a model and discussing a model, it can take a long time.
Yeah. However,
I'm a little bit afraid, and I say maybe some cases is already enough than filling all the model. That was the idea. But I
right.
love to see model, and I love to see you thinking.
We don't want organization or structure to get in the way. So if anybody is like, I want to organize this and I want it to be a festival, then go for it. But if it's just, hey, we're going to go live on this date and these 3 people are going to share and talk, and we can make that description be, this is a conversation, this is a how-to, this is we just be very clear about what we're going to share at that time. And I have a feeling that pretty soon Guido's going to ask me, well, tell me what you've learned so far. I have not given him the Padlet, I don't believe, because I was like, what if he takes something? We've got to be really clear about what we are willing to share. But we just haven't had that conversation yet. But I also know that it's a little bit after the hour, so if folks need to drop off, I understand. I just want to see, should we meet again? And should we do it again in 2 weeks, or should we wait a month?
I'm not available in 2 weeks because I will be in the US. By the way,
Welcome
can you
to the
share
US.
again the Padlet? Because
Yeah.
I don't know where it is.
Yep.
I
Absolutely.
believe that it's nice. Like, I think that we should meet again, but for me, mostly for the sake of meeting. Like I like, think it's been too long we haven't seen each other, Heather, and with some others as well. And I'm really happy to spend this time. I think every 2 weeks it's a commitment. I'm pretty sure I cannot hold up to either,
No.
but once a month is nice. But one more comment in general, I believe that the goal of also being ambassador is to represent these products and to make people want to buy this new beautiful product, undercover product of Neuland. So I think we should just try to, yeah, do whatever, but to always remember that more than to have a necessarily a pedagogical aspect, we need to teach the people how to do this. We need to rank the people. We should do something that gives people that makes people want to buy those products and to try out those things. We should try to stick to simple things that people say, I can do that too. Hey, look at this, with these markers, I can do this stuff. So I want to buy them too. I guess that's maybe ultimately something that should also, well, taken into account.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. Absolutely. Well, thank you all for being here. I think whether you can come every 2 weeks or not is not a big deal. We've already seen people come and go, and that's great. So I'll just check out my calendar for my availability too, but we'll at least do this once a month and keep going. I just like the community, but I'm also so inspired by what you're putting in the Padlet. Like my mind was blown this morning when I saw some of the newer posts. I just thought, wow, what are those possibilities? And again, my personal mini challenge, thank you, Martine, for that great language, is to figure out how can I make something for Excel? I want to get her attention.
Oh, well, I have 3 things already. I have 3 things that could, no, I just want to represent the lazy people. So I have 3 things that I think that would trigger me to go to take a look at these markers. So I'm just making them, I'm writing them down, and we'll put it in the Padlet.
Excellent. Wonderful. Thank you so much. And that's what we can do is say, okay, what do I need? And I think somebody out there might need it too. So let's share that. So please, as you keep posting on social media, share with us, tag, let's follow each other, that kind of thing, if you haven't already. And if we need to put all of I think we're smart enough, we can go out and find each other on social media. But if you feel like you need to organize something like that, use that Padlet. Feel free to use that Padlet to add things wherever you need, and let me know how I can support in that way. So I'll put out another call for when is a good time. If this is a good time, does this time on Fridays work for folks?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, I'll keep it. And then if you can come, great. If you can't, we understand if you're traveling or working on other projects. So we'll just keep coming back together. And if there's something you want to see come out of this group, bring it to the next session or let me know so we can, make that an intention as I send out the next invite. Well, thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend. You've got me all excited and inspired, and I just look forward to seeing what else you do.
Thank
Have
you,
a nice
Heather.
weekend.
Likewise. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Everyone.
Take care,
organizing that.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.